early birds to preach to convergence, not only between physical and the IT security or the cyber as we call it today. And it's, again, it's not the same, but a full convergence, so like total risk management as far as concerns security. So here in the group of Philips, starting from Philips Lighting, which is Signify today, and what was our mother group, Royal Philips, which is following our steps, we created a full convergence model. The reasons are obvious. I mean, we have modern threats. We have to run good risk management once we thought out the right threats, and then in order to do it, we have to have all the different domains of security together. So what we created here is what I call the next level corporate security department or enterprise security, full convergence. So under me, I have 4 departments. First one is GRC, which is governance, risk, and compliance, but not only risk, I call it double R, because all the resilience part is over there as well, from business continuity through crisis management and the disaster recovery. And this is the second head that I have to manage the Corona or COVID-19 crisis for the group. So this is very important to have the right governance and the right compliance with the right standards and regulations, using best practices whenever and however we can. So that's one group under me. The second group is actually the cyber group. So we took the old IT department, IT security department from IT. We moved it into the corporate security. We reincarnated it into cyber, meaning usually IT and IT security under IT department or enterprise IT are traditionally dealing with IT operations. This is a weak point. What we wanted is to eliminate all the shadows that exist for IT security in the company. So we expanded the department to take care of the OT, and we are now starting convergence between OT and IT, which is extremely important. And also insider threat, digital footprints, and a lot of quite advanced programs on the domain of the cyber. So this is the second group. The third group is the brick and mortar of security, which is the physical security or operational security. Mainly this group is taking care of the day-to-day incidents as far as traffic of people and goods. So including supply chain security, travel security, facility security, investigations, and also to some extent training of the users, but mainly the education and training is part of the GRC. And the last group is a very important group for us, which is protecting our main assets, our intellectual property and products, which is product security. So we build a full approach into the product security, starting from the processes into all the way into end of life cycle of the devices. So going into advanced fields like device security, and we must do it as a group that is holding probably, if not the biggest, one of the biggest IoT networks in the world. We have over 1 billion connected points with the latest acquisitions that we did with lighting solutions in North America. 800 Philips lighting, Signify, and 200 what we got with this acquisition. So we have a huge footprint to manage in the IoT. And of course, this was actually the beginning point. So when I joined the group and I discussed with the CEO, Eric Ondola, which type of security we need, we looked at the business, we looked at the evolution of the technology, of the business models, because we moved from a classic product company into systems and services and connected services. So we are selling light as a service as the biggest leader of lighting solutions globally. And of course, all these change of models, business models, and change of technology, because we just introduced new technology, which is Li-Fi, light fidelity, communication with lights, which is already communication technology. So immediately your threat environment is changing, your threat agents are changing, and the type of organization that need to be structured vis-a-vis those threats in order to manage them is immediately different. And this is what we created. So we created what we call the next level enterprise security department. Our vision is to move from where we were never reactive. We started from proactive, moving in 5 years plan into predictive. And this is a very rough sea to sail through. It's not easy. The road to predictive. And one last word is actually we have the governance structure internally. So on the security domain, I report to a security board, which is chaired by the CEO of the company, and other main functions like finance, head of finance, HR, legal, audit and compliance, and myself, etc. And over there, we actually shape and decide on the risk appetite of the company for major topics, of course, day-to-day topics. The decision is taken within the security group. The rest is heavy topics are with the security board. And I think it's, last word is I was invited to give a lecture in ACES. ACES was mainly, ACES Europe was mainly, and global was mainly physical security. They wanted to move to cyber. If you take it from the risk aspect and the threats, if you just look at the main threats in cyber, which are the insider, the third party, and the legacy, those threats are existing the same in physical. So if you take it, if you're a risk manager as head of security, you must address both, you must compare.
Well, fantastic. Well, I'm glad I started with you because you're the poster child. You're the success story, hopefully, that we can all emulate. And you've given us a massive tour de force of all the different functions that we are going to talk about today. So it's great to open up with that. What about you, Shahab? What's the CSO of the future going to look like for enabling this converged success?
Yeah, so Philip, we have been talking about convergence, from past many years, but frankly, if you see, the convergence is not really happening at the pace of how technology is converging. So if you look at the technology, the line between what falls into physical security domain versus what falls into cyber security domain or technology aspect, it's blurring. But you don't see that happening at the function level or at the framework level, or you don't see a common plan. Maybe, for example, incident response, for example, you won't see many organizations having a common incident response plan where they converge both this function, IT security or cyber security and physical security. Of course, there are some use cases. With cybersecurity picking up physical logs and physical security relying more upon tools and tools which are from the technology side. But yeah, I feel that convergence is not happening, and I believe in smaller organization, you will feel this convergence happening more often than a bigger enterprise, because possibly the smaller organization, a same person wears multiple hats. So he may be playing a role of CSO, CISO together. And also because of limitation of resources, possibly you will see more example of convergence. Yeah, but from cybersecurity, of course, everyone knows that we cannot have cybersecurity fully effective if there is a lack of physical security. Similarly, in physical security, the devices or sensors which were until now on a separate network, on a different protocol, those are now in IT network and IP enabled, and then that opens up to a lot of vulnerabilities. And in some cases, it will actually be counterproductive when you have placed something for enhancing the physical security, but it ends up opening up more doors for attacker. So the need of convergence is very real, but I feel there is a lot of room for this cohesion to happen at the function level.
So yeah. That's interesting. You mentioned the IT and OT convergence, and I think Gal also mentioned that. On this panel, we've got someone in the world of manufacturing, so to speak. We've got Petrofac, which is energy, and we have Nathan, who's in finance, largely. Nathan, what do you think that means? Is it going to change according to the sector, or what's this top post holder going to look like if they are to converge the two functions?
I think from my perspective, the convergence is critical in the future, but it touches on many different departments. So firstly, if we think about the physical and the cyber relationships, a lot of the more advanced nation state or criminal-backed nation state or associated groups can be seen to leverage physical and also cyber attacks in conjunction. To date, I haven't seen any successful compromises involving physical social engineering, but more the implementation of spies, I think we would call them, right? So, as we know, the majority of information can be gleaned via the networks, via the cyber route, but also the traditional means of having physical presence and building social networks physically in watering holes around key areas or so on. So this sort of convergence of physical and cyber is more relevant today because the operation attack plans from those people with the intent to steal IP or to implement communication channels and critical infrastructure. So I'm referring to my obviously experience around national critical infrastructure protection. So convergence is more important than ever, actually, in these areas. And my personal defense MO is based around perhaps military understanding, where we try to actually analyze those threats and understanding those threats, the physical ones and obviously the cyber ones. And then we build in controls around that and mitigations around that. And our typical teams to handle those types of defenses is more of a purple team. So, my personal team here, I'm very blessed to have a great team. We have guys who are specialists in blue teaming and also red teaming. And then we cross-pollinate these skills, we converge these skills. So when I talked earlier about, convergence and bringing things together on different levels, this is another one of those levels. But particularly to answer your question on the CISO of the future, I believe that we are seeing CISOs now, come into leadership roles that do have a great understanding of the technical detail, the cyber realm, and as well as the physical realm. Perhaps, yes, I've actually done bodyguarding in the past, physical security, a touch of military, and ethical hacking is my mainstay. So I believe there will be a need for more and more CISOs who have the capabilities to do, buffer overflow attacks, understand how the code injection actually works, and also, can truly understand the physical realms. But there will always be a need for subject matter experts, the guys who can go a lot deeper, who can write the code, and those of us who are very strong and very fit, who can actually provide the correct physical security where needed in those critical areas.
I like that, because you're touching on TSCM, and that's, I mean, we're going to talk about that a bit later. It's an interesting area, which is both cyber and physical. Some people are now marketing cyber TSCM, and it's an interesting combo. But you also touch on skills gaps, maybe, and the ability to have more people as specialists, or versus generalists. Gal, many people are probably knocking on your door every day saying, please buy my shiny AI solution. I'm we don't have to get into whether things are really are AI, but how could an AI solution plug the gap to enable this top function?
So first, just one sentence to Nathan. We do see a combination of attacks since a long time, physical and cyber, especially it started maybe historically from our perspective of enterprises from the supply chain. So we saw attacks on the supply chain, digital attacks that converted shipments to other areas and they're supposed to do, and many manipulation in products. So this is very much happening. And then just take into consideration somebody walks into your building with a box to sniff the Wi-Fi. Is it a physical or a cyber attack? So if you don't converge, you have all the chance to miss that opportunity to block it. That's from our experience. And on the second part, I'm not going to tell you if it happened or not. You can guess it. Now, AI is an important topic. How to use it in a smart way in security is even more important. I think it's a whole day discussion, maybe for you guys to launch another day around it, or another panel. But we do look constantly into the domain of the artificial intelligence. The question, of course, is whether it's you need it internally or you take off the shelf or you outsource it. So what we are checking now is all of the things that I mentioned. We definitely check some collaboration with large groups or MSSPs that develop huge platforms of AI, and we are just trying to collect the logs to ship it to them and to get the inputs that we want to get from them, leveraging on their fantastic and well-invested platforms, which as an enterprise, we are not able to bring all the experts that we want, all the skills, retain all the skills. So we are kind of, in our philosophy, my philosophy, we are, whatever we can outsource, we should outsource, but in a smart way. And internally, we should retain the skills that are able to have enough knowledge to manage the outsource, that the model will not flip, that the outsource is managing us, because I've seen it in many companies. And then automate as much as we can. And part of the automation will be to use a lot of artificial intelligence. Internally, on the products domain, we did develop our own platform because this is our obligation with our customers. And since we have so many connected devices to manage, and it's sensitive to us, this we maintain the control internally. All the rest, we are or we will use more and more outsourcing.
Well, we've got a message actually come in. Alex Bromberg says he agrees with you, Gal, which that's nice. There's a big gap between technical and physical. In many organizations, the two sides do not communicate. Technical security staff among the highest paid, physical among the lowest paid, big gaps. I don't know, is this question of expensive staff versus cheap staff perhaps going to be solved by AI? Because if people are too expensive, people are going to find a way to outsource that.
Exactly. So I don't know if the question is to me, then I can answer, yeah, there are gaps. Well, us as an enterprise, we have, as a public traded company, we have grades and scales which do not differentiate between the different professions of security. So maybe we are blessed that we can compensate on the same level according to the seniority and and the veterancy and the level of the grade of the job, and not according to differentiation between cyber or products or physical. That's how we took it. Yes, skills are an issue, and the specialized outsource agencies has better skills, and this is why probably more and more we would need to outsource. Providing the outsource company is not going to give us less and less every year while increasing the price, because this is what a lot of enterprises have against outsourcing. But if we can strike it as a partnership, then it's different. And I think there are many forms of partnerships that can be formed and facilitate this kind of contracts and connectivity.
I like it. I like it. Shahab, obviously, in the oil and gas sector, there's a lot of automated alarms and alerts for facilities, flaring monitors and all sorts of downstream, upstream things. But what do you think the AI solution of the future could do to transform your role?
Yeah, AI, I think, has not reached to that level. Of course, the vendor will claim that, okay, we have AI. So that is another discussion, whether it is a true AI or it is more of a data analytic at a bigger scale. But yes, we are using a lot of system where we are doing big data analytics. And with that, we are able to do a behavior analysis, which where the machine learning models are helping us a lot to detect an attack which are slow in nature or which are which usually our traditional day-to-day log analysis cannot detect. So those kind of areas have developed a lot. Coming to physical security part of it, I feel the potential of AI have just started. I mean, we have just started seeing this, like in recent example of during protest and all, government using video to recognize people, facial recognition. All that has started happening now. I think that is a good example of true AI, where you are using video recording, and this possibly police and government are using to detect people maybe of criminal background who are in crowd. Of course, I think there are a lot of privacy related or ethical related framework needed around that implementation. Yeah, but I think still the usage of AI, especially in convergence or physical security, is something that has just started. In cybersecurity, of course, we have uh, uh, many more such real-world example where AI is helping solve problem, which typically a SOC team or a blue team may need more time and investigation. And especially in case of threat hunting, you would see AI assisted threat hunting being really effective. So which can actually prioritize areas which we can look into. We can look into a huge number of data, huge data set varying across a quarter maybe. And then we are able to actually find out some malware which are low and doesn't trigger any typical behavior-based behavior signature or other known signatures. So I think, yeah, in cybersecurity, we are seeing more and more use cases of AI being used. Yes.
I like it, but you draw up that interesting point, the known threat actors and the unknown threat actors. What about you, Nathan? Everyone's looking to you. They're saying, Nathan, I want to be like you, and you're probably thinking, well, where do I go from being a CISO? Is the next logical step to harness many different workforce management platforms and become a super CISO that manages all sorts of functions? Is that a crazy idea, or where could that take you?
That's a very interesting question, but if you don't mind, if I can just mention a few points on AI.
Yeah, sure.
And also, Gal, to your point on physical to cyber attacks being successful, I do remember now, but many years ago, some shipping companies has been a couple of great ones. Yeah, so on AI in particular, I've seen it over many years since uni, playing with it and actually seeing it to come into very successful, commercial realms for some companies, and we've played with it for the last 3 years and tried to analyze, is it truly effective? And I think, Shahab, to your point, talking about it aids a blue team do deep dives into investigations quite well, I believe. So traditionally, those of us who may have implemented log monitoring analysis back in the days, host intrusion detection, these types of technologies, OSEC, HIDS, for example, SNORT. Many hundreds of thousands of pounds and dollars are typically spent implementing these and fine-tuning the alerts and actually getting value out of these solutions. I believe there might be some value to draw from AI whilst that process is being done, but you have to be careful it doesn't make everything more expensive. So I think I agree with my peers here on the panel in terms of AI. There's still a bit to go. There's a bit of snake oil out there, but I think if there's a gap of visibility and you can know those requirements and test accurately against them with certain circumstances and threat actors, there might be some value to be had there. So Philip, you've asked about this super CISO thing. I'm really not sure. So I think I would just echo my previous point in that I believe CISOs are normally thrown under the bus when there's an incident, and I'm really not sure why that happens. To be honest with you, I can only assume that perhaps they're not completely clued up on being able to inform the board on the specific risks that are known and are present in the organization, and constantly warning them that these could be exploited and lead to data loss or system compromise or operational downtime or reputational damage if the websites are changed, etc. So I think the super CISO of the future could be perhaps one that is really apt in the technical forum, because to Gal, to your point, it came. I remember when it was everyone started calling it cyber, which was largely off the back of perhaps Cyber Command in the US starting, and then this great buzzword around technical security. But I think the traditional CISO that is commonplace these days is perhaps one who's more policy based and is perhaps good at risk management and governance, GRC, but perhaps when it comes to actually understanding the physical threats and how a physical person can social engineer their way in, put down some exploit code, whether it's in USBs or on some CDs, etc. They might not actually get the process and understand the risk. So when they come to articulate that to the board, they might actually struggle. So those types of risk conversations, technical security risk conversations, might get stuck within IT and might not actually propagate to the board. So, in order to enact change in an organization as a senior manager or director in a international or local firm or whatever, you really have to be able to communicate at that level so you can get the backing from your peers to enact change and also communicate that risk. And it's very difficult to do if you don't truly understand the nature of the beast with the organization you're working, because I'm sure everyone here is operating on zero trust of systems. We should always expect something to happen, etc. So it's the old snake oil, the old silver bullet that we see vendors coming with, which is it's not if, it's when, and I tend to agree with that side of it, right? So I think the super CISO of the future is one who's going to be fully converged with the physical, but I don't think that the CISO should replace physical. They should complement each other, in my personal opinion. I think it would be too much, and the CISO wouldn't really understand the role of, for example, OT physical protection or close protection, and how those operations might link together in all cases. But, of course, there's anomalies.
Wow. Okay, well, that is a lot of food for thought, and we're going to tease a lot of those questions out. We are now out of time, but we have some lovely comments in the comment section. We've got comments from Mark Chappell about the cost of guarding and paying for quality staff. We've got a nice comment from Aman Sood, clean desk policy, which is a really good simple thought. Lawrence Hardcastle says hello and he's enjoying it. Eddie Hurst says he agrees with you, Nathan. Risk registers are two separate business risks held apart from security risk. We could go on, but I think this has been a very nice start to the panel because we are completely out of time. And what I'd like to do is give our wonderful panelists a virtual round of applause. I think there's a little clap function in the chat box. Thank you, Alex, for posting that. please give everyone a wonderful round of applause. It's great to start our day off like this. Thank you very much. We've got lovely comments coming in, and everyone's really happy. I look forward to seeing you in the audience, and I will bring up our next session. Thank you, Richard. Wonderful. Thank you, Gal, Nathan, and Shahab.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Perfect. And please do keep those tweets and LinkedIn messages coming. I'm really pleased with everything on Twitter and LinkedIn at the moment. I am now going to welcome to the stage our next fantastic session. I'm very pleased to welcome Tim Willis, Director Corporate Security at Data Miner, as well as John Meekin, CSO and Cybersecurity